Hey there, my name is Carrie. I'm a CPO with 15 years of experience, and this is the tutorial for Prosthetic Logic. Prosthetic Logic is a tool that I created to help organize some of the commonly used information for prosthetic documentation. And the way to find it is to go to prosthetic.org, which will bring you to this site here, and you click on this link in the left side panel called Prosthetic Logic, and it'll bring you to this tool here. So this is the tool that can help with common prosthetic documentation. And I'm just going to go through a little example to show you how it works. So let's say you just saw a patient in the clinic and you have them in mind. You would come on over to the history section and select the amputation level. So I have someone in mind. I'm going to click BK and the side of the amputation, the etiology, and then the functional level. So the functional levels in this tool come from the Medicare LCD, and they are the K1 through K4 specific tasks. So the K1 tasks show up first here. You can click some of them or all of them. If the patient meets all of the tasks from the K1 category, the K2 category will appear. And again, if your patient is a higher level, there is this select all button here, so that'll select all of the tasks. And we'll just go through a couple more variable cadence. Okay, so let's say that our patient is a K3. There's another section here about advanced knee technology. So this is for transfemoral patients. If your patient requires advanced knee technology such as microprocessor knees, you would click yes. But since this patient example is a BK, I'm going to ignore that and come down to the physical condition. Is this patient a new prosthetic user? If you select no, then some options will come up as to why the patient needs treatment, and you would select one of those reasons. Those can include things like wear, damage, if the prosthesis no longer fits, residual limb volume change, or functional or mobility needs changes. But this patient is a new user, so I'm going to select yes. Now, documentation guidance. So documentation guidance is super important. In here are clinical needs and environmental needs for patients. I would encourage you to try to fill out as many of these as possible that pertain to the patient. So for clinical needs, if you click yes here, there are some conditions that will pop up. Now for this particular patient, they could benefit from shock absorption and additional residual limb protection, so I checked those. And for environmental needs, those are things like environmental obstacles, so uneven terrain and stairs. And so with just a click of a few buttons, you've really captured a lot of information about your patient. And you would scroll down to the bottom here, it generates an output as to the type of information that needs to be in the patient's clinical documentation for coverage. So you've got the amputation level, the side, and the etiology. You've got the patient's K level. You've got the treatment stage that the patient is in, so a new amputee requiring initial prosthetic intervention. And then with that documentation guidance, that really dials in on personalizing the documentation for the patient, what they have additional requirements for, things like shock absorption or impact reduction for their residual limb, or any environmental barriers that they face to enter their home or in their community, and then a statement about the patient's needs. So this is just the type of information that a patient would need in order for prosthetic coverage for those higher level components, or even for lower level components, but that are a little bit more unique and important to describe thoroughly. So just as a recap, I mentioned before that Medicare LCD, this tool is based largely on that information. If you would like additional information about that, you can always go to the Medicare websites about the LCD and the policy article, which are linked here below for easy viewing. But that has more detailed information about all this documentation need. And also, just a reminder, this is an educational tool for clinical reference. It does not guarantee reimbursement or coverage determination. It's just a tool that offers information about the Medicare guidelines and what type of information needs to be in the patient's note in order for them to get coverage. So, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. When you're done with the output, you can select that text and add it to a patient's note. But once you're finished, you can hit clear all and it'll return it to the state where everything is empty and you can restart for a new patient. So that's it. Thanks for sitting tight for this tutorial. I would love to hear some feedback and see what everybody thinks about this tool and if it can help patients with access to care. Thank you. Have a great day.